Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the battleship Defiant, watching Earth's blue skies turn black with alien ships. The enemy fleet stretched across space like a metal storm cloud, blocking out the sun. Each ship was the size of a city, their crystal hulls glowing with deadly energy. "Admiral, we count over 2,000 enemy vessels," reported Lieutenant Greg Adams from his station. His voice stayed steady, but Jake could see the fear in his young eyes. They all knew what this meant. Earth was about to die. The Zephyrian Dominion had come without warning. Their message was simple and cruel: surrender or be destroyed. They wanted humans as slaves, Earth as another colony in their vast empire. But Jake Morrison had never been good at following orders, especially from alien monsters. "All ships, battle formation," Jake commanded into his comm. "We make our stand here." The human fleet was impressive by Earth standards. 50 ships with the best weapons and shields humanity could build. Nuclear missiles that could crack asteroids. Energy beams that cut through steel like paper. But against the Zephyrian armada, they looked like toys. Dr. Lisa Carter burst onto the bridge, her lab coat still smoking from whatever experiment she had been running. She was Earth's smartest scientist, the woman who had given humanity faster than light travel. Now she carried humanity's last hope in a small device clutched in her hands. "Jake, we need to talk," she said, her face pale with exhaustion and fear. "Kinda busy right now, Lisa," Jake replied, watching the tactical display as enemy ships moved closer to Earth. "Unless you built us a miracle weapon in the last hour." "Not a weapon, an escape route." Lisa activated the small device, and a holographic star map appeared between them. "Project Exodus, I can get our people out of here." Jake studied the map. It showed a route through unexplored space far beyond any known star system. "How many people?" 3 million. Maybe 4 if we push the ships to their limits." Lisa's voice cracked. "That's all we can save, Jake, out of 8 billion. The first enemy attack hit Earth's orbital defense stations. Brilliant flashes of light marked where human installations simply vanished, turned to dust by alien weapons. The Zephyrians were not just attacking military targets. Their beams swept across cities, turning millions of people into ash in seconds. "They're not trying to capture anything," whispered Captain Dan Roberts, Jake's second in command. "They're just killing everything." Jake closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with grim determination. "Lisa, how long do you need?" 6 hours to prep the civilian ships. 12 hours to get them all through the jump points." She looked at the tactical display showing the advancing enemy fleet. "How long can you give me?" Jake looked at his 50 ships against 2,000 alien monsters. He did simple math in his head. "I can give you 6 hours, maybe 8 if we're lucky." "That's not enough time for everyone to escape," Lisa said quietly. "Then we make it enough." Jake turned to his crew. "All hands, this is your admiral. We're about to do something that sounds impossible. We're going to hold off the entire Zephyrian fleet while our families escape to safety. Some of us won't make it home for dinner. Hell, most of us won't. But our children will live to see tomorrow because of what we do today." The crew responded with quiet determination. These were Earth's best sailors, pilots, and Marines. They knew what sacrifice meant. The battle began with humanity's desperate charge into the alien fleet. The Defiant led the attack, her guns blazing as she dove between massive enemy ships. Jake's fleet used every trick they knew, hiding in asteroid fields, using hit-and-run tactics, anything to buy more time. Lieutenant Sarah Brooks piloted her, fighter through a maze of enemy fire, her small ship dancing between laser beams that could cut her in half. She took down 3 alien fighters before her luck ran out. Her last words over the radio were, "Tell my kids I love them." Commander Paul Dixon led a squad of Marines in a desperate boarding action against a Zephyrian cruiser. They fought through alien corridors with primitive bullets against energy weapons, but somehow managed to destroy the ship's main reactor. Dixon and his men died in the explosion, but they took 1,000 enemies with them. Meanwhile, Dr. Carter worked frantically to prepare the evacuation ships. Civilian vessels that had never been designed for long space travel were loaded with families, supplies, and everything humanity would need to survive in unknown space. She pushed the quantum drives beyond safe limits, knowing that failure meant death for everyone aboard. The human fleet held for 6 hours, then 7, then 8. But they were dying by degrees. The Defiant had lost half her crew and most of her weapons. Jake watched ship after ship disappear from his tactical display, as brave captains made final charges against impossible odds. "Admiral, the last evacuation ship just jumped to safety," reported Lieutenant Adams, his station sparking from battle damage. 3.2 million civilians are away." Jake nodded, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. His people would live. "Good. Now let's give these aliens something to remember us by." The Defiant's final charge was magnificent and terrible. Jake aimed his dying ship directly at the Zephyrian command vessel, a massive crystal palace that commanded the entire enemy fleet. His remaining crew worked their damaged guns until the last second, pouring fire into the alien mothership. "For Earth," Jake shouted as the Defiant crashed into the enemy flagship at near light speed. The explosion lit up space like a new star. The Zephyrian commander and half his fleet vanished in the blast, but there were still hundreds of alien ships left, more than enough to finish their dark work. The aliens completed their conquest by poisoning Earth itself. They pumped toxins into the atmosphere, turned the oceans into acid, and left the planet, a dead rock floating in space. In their records, they marked humanity as extinct, just another species that had failed to accept Zephyrian rule. But 3 million humans were already far away, traveling through unknown space toward a distant star. They carried with them the memory of Earth, the sacrifice of Jake Morrison and his fleet, and a burning desire for justice that would grow stronger with each passing year. The Zephyrians thought they had won. They thought humanity was finished, forever. In 3,000 years, they would learn how wrong they were. Alex Kane stood at the edge of the training ground, watching new recruits practice combat moves that would have been impossible on old Earth. The gravity on Haven was twice what humans had evolved for, but after 3,000 years, it had made them stronger. Much stronger. The young soldier in front of him moved like water, dodging training lasers while carrying equipment that would have crushed his ancestors. This was what humanity had become in the void between stars. Harder, faster, and filled with a burning need for revenge that passed from parent to child like a sacred flame. "General Kane, the Council is ready for your report," said Lieutenant Amy Clark, his aide. She was typical of Haven's new generation, tall and lean with reflexes that bordered on supernatural. The binary sons of the Kepler system had changed human DNA in ways Dr. Carter could never have predicted. Alex walked through the underground city that 3 million refugees had built into their new home. Haven was a harsh world of red rocks and purple skies, but it had given humanity exactly what they needed, a place to grow strong in secret. The Zephyrians had never found them here, hidden in the shadow of dead stars. The council chamber was carved from living rock, its walls decorated with images of old Earth. Every human child grew up knowing what they had lost, what had been stolen from them. The 12 council members who governed Haven all shared the same expression of quiet fury that marked their entire species. "General Kane," said Councilwoman Betty Moore, the eldest member at 150 years old. Haven's low radiation and clean air had extended human lifespans far beyond Earth normal. "What is the status of our military forces?" "We are ready," Alex replied simply. "The Defense Corps now numbers 50 million soldiers, all trained from Hawaii, birth for one purpose. Our weapons technology exceeds anything our ancestors could have imagined, and our ships are waiting in the hidden shipyards of the outer moons." Dr. Maya Foster stepped forward from the science section. She was the great-great-granddaughter of Dr. Lisa Carter, and she had inherited both her ancestors' genius and her dedication to humanity's survival. In her hands, she carried the results of 3,000 years of focused research. "The Genesis project is complete," Maya announced. "We can rebuild Earth's ecosystem down to the last microbe, every plant, every animal, every grain of soil. When we retake our homeworld, we can make it live again." But her next words carried even more weight. "The Nemesis protocol is also ready. We have weapons specifically designed to counter Zephyrian technology. Their shields, their hulls, their power systems, we know how to destroy them all. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this news. For 3,000 years, humanity had prepared for this moment. Children had been born, raised, and trained for a war against enemies they had never seen. Scientists had spent lifetimes developing weapons for battles that might never come, but now finally they were ready. Captain Ryan Bell entered the chamber still wearing his deep space uniform. He commanded the Wraith, humanity's most advanced stealth ship, capable of traveling undetected through Zephyrian space. His missions had given them their first look at the galaxy since the exodus from Earth. "The Dominion has grown," Ryan reported, his voice grim. "They control half the galaxy now, with over 1,000 star systems under their rule. They have enslaved dozens of intelligent species, but their technology has not advanced. They still use the same weapons and ships that destroyed Earth." Alex felt a cold smile cross his face. The Zephyrians had grown comfortable in their dominance. They ruled through fear and superior numbers, not innovation. Meanwhile, humanity had spent every day of the last 3 millennia improving, adapting, preparing. "What about resistance movements?" asked Councilman Carl Price. "Everywhere," Ryan answered. "The Altarians have been fighting a guerrilla war for 2,000 years. The Vegans were driven from their homeworld and scattered across space. Dozens of other species live under Zephyrian rule, waiting for someone to challenge their masters." Maya activated a holographic display showing the galaxy as Ryan's scouts had mapped it. Red zones marked Zephyrian territory, spreading like a cancer across the spiral arms. But there were gaps, hidden refuges where free people still survived. "The Dominion believes humanity is extinct," Maya continued. "Their records show Earth as completely dead, its people wiped out. They have no idea we survived, no idea we have been preparing. When we strike, it will be a complete surprise." Alex studied the galactic map, his mind already working on strategy. "We cannot fight them head-on. Even with our advantages, they have too many ships, too many soldiers. But we do not need to conquer the galaxy. We only need to take back what was stolen from us." He pointed to a small yellow star near the edge of Zephyrian space. "Earth. We punch through their defenses, liberate our homeworld, and show the galaxy that the Dominion can be beaten. The enslaved species will do the rest." Councilwoman Moore stood slowly, her ancient eyes bright with long-delayed hope. "Then, it is time. After 3,000 years of waiting, we return to reclaim what is ours." The vote was unanimous. Operation Homecoming would begin within the year. In the months that followed, Haven buzzed with activity. The hidden shipyards worked around the clock, building vessels that combined human engineering with technology beyond Zephyrian understanding. The Retribution, flagship of the new Earth reclamation fleet, was larger than any ship in human history. Her weapons could crack moons. Her shields could absorb the energy of stars. Admiral Kate Rodriguez took command of the fleet from the Retribution's bridge. She was Alex Kane's counterpart in space, a woman who had spent her entire life preparing to lead humanity's return to the stars. Her officers were the children and grandchildren of Earth's refugees, each one carrying the memory of their lost homeworld in their hearts. Commander Luke Patterson prepared his assault troops aboard the carrier Phoenix. His Marines were the finest soldiers humanity had ever produced, enhanced by 3,000 years of evolution, and armed with weapons that seemed like magic. They had trained for every possible scenario, studied every detail of Zephyrian tactics. Dr. Hannah Price led the archaeological teams that would recover artifacts from humanity's lost colonies. Every piece of evidence they found would fuel the fleet's determination and provide intelligence about their enemies. She carried scanners that could read the history of a planet from its very atoms. As the fleet prepared to depart, Alex Kane stood once more at the edge of the training ground. The recruits were gone now, transformed into soldiers ready to face an enemy that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Haven felt empty without them, but also proud. This world had done its job. It had kept humanity alive and made them strong. The day of departure arrived with little ceremony. The Earth reclamation fleet simply vanished from Haven's orbital space, jumping through dimensions toward a destiny 3,000 years in the making. Behind them, They left a world that had served as humanity's forge and anvil, shaping refugees into warriors. The Zephyrian Dominion was about to learn that some species do not die quietly. They were about to discover that humanity remembers everything, forgives nothing, and never, ever gives up. Admiral Kate Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Retribution as her fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Zephyrian territory. After 3,000 years of hiding, humanity had returned to the galaxy. The sight that greeted them filled every human heart with cold rage. Proxima Station hung in orbit around the dead remains of humanity's first interstellar colony. The Zephyrians had built their fortress using the bones of human cities, melting down the metal and glass of New Geneva to create their twisted spires. It was a monument to alien cruelty, a symbol of everything humanity had lost. "Tactical report," Kate ordered, her voice calm despite the fury burning in her chest. 67 enemy ships defending the station, reported Commander Lisa Park from her sensor station. Mix of cruisers and fighters. Standard Zephyrian defensive formation. They do not appear to have detected us yet. Kate smiled grimly. The human fleet's stealth technology was 3,000 years more advanced than anything the Zephyrians had ever faced. To their sensors, space looked empty. Commander Luke Patterson's voice came over the comm from the assault carrier Phoenix. "General Kane's Marines are ready for boarding action, Admiral. We have been waiting our whole lives for this moment. Begin the attack," Kate commanded. "Show them that humanity has returned." The human fleet struck like lightning from a clear sky. Quantum torpedoes phased through Zephyrian shields as if they did not exist, tearing apart alien ships from the inside. Energy beams cut through crystal hulls like hot knives through butter. In the space of 10 minutes, the mighty Proxima Station lost half its defending fleet. War Prime Kethvar watched the impossible battle unfold from his command ship at the heart of the Zephyrian fleet. He was an ancient warrior, old enough to remember the conquest of Earth 3 millennia ago. But the ships attacking his forces used technology he had never seen before. "Who are they?" demanded Sub-Commander Yethtar, his voice clicking with alien fear. "Where did these ships come from?" Kethvar studied the tactical display, noting the precise formation and devastating firepower of the attacking fleet. Something about their tactics seemed familiar, like a half-remembered dream from the distant past. "Scan their ships for biological signatures," he ordered. "I want to know what species we are fighting." The answer that came back made his blood run cold. "Sir, the biosigns are reading as human." "Impossible," Kethvar snarled. "We exterminated the humans. We watched their world burn." But even as he spoke, he knew it was true. Somehow, impossibly, the weak bipeds had survived, and they had grown strong in the darkness between stars. Commander Patterson led the first human ground assault in 3,000 years as his Marines stormed Proxima Station. The Phoenix's landing bays opened to release a swarm of drop pods, each one carrying soldiers who had dreamed of this moment since childhood. The Zephyrians fought back with the same cruel efficiency they had used to conquer half the galaxy. Their crystal armor turned aside human bullets, and their energy weapons could melt steel. But they had grown soft during centuries of easy dominance, while humanity had spent every day preparing for this war. Marine Sergeant Tony Wright led his squad through the station's twisted corridors, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to dodge alien fire while returning shots with deadly accuracy. His armor was made from materials that did not exist in nature, designed specifically to counter Zephyrian weapons. "Remember what they did to our people," Wright shouted to his Marines as they fought through fierce resistance. "Remember Earth. Remember our children who will never see their true home because of these monsters." The humans fought with a fury that shocked their enemies. Every Marine carried 3,000 years of inherited rage, passed down through generations who had been born in exile. They moved through the station like avenging angels, showing no mercy to the aliens who had destroyed their world. Dr. Hannah Price followed behind the assault teams with her archaeological scanners, documenting the evidence of Zephyrian crimes. In the station's museum, she found displays of human artifacts labeled as primitive relics of an extinct species. In the laboratories, she discovered research files detailing experiments performed on human prisoners. Admiral Rodriguez, Hannah's voice was tight with emotion as she transmitted her findings. They kept some of our people alive. For 3,000 years, they used human prisoners for medical experiments. The last one died only 50 years ago. Kate closed her eyes, feeling the weight of all the human suffering that could have been prevented if they had returned sooner. But they had needed time to grow strong, time to prepare. Now they were here, and the debt would be paid in full. The Battle of Proxima Station lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the Zephyrian fortress was in human hands, its defenders dead or captured. The human fleet had lost only 3 ships while the enemy had been completely destroyed. News of the battle spread through Zephyrian space like wildfire. Emergency transmissions flooded the communication networks as alien commanders tried to understand what had happened. The humans were supposed to be extinct. How could they have returned with such advanced ships and weapons? On the enslaved world of Altair, Resistance leader Corvash received the news with barely contained excitement. His people had fought the Zephyrians for 2,000 years, always hoping that someday help would come. Now the galaxy's most legendary victims had returned from the dead. The humans live, Corvash told his followers as they gathered in their hidden bunkers. They have returned with ships that can defeat the Dominion. The time of liberation has finally come. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as oppressed species learned that the impossible had happened. The Zephyrian Dominion, which had seemed invincible for millennia, had been challenged and beaten in open battle. War Prime Kethvar led the Zephyrian response from his flagship Void Render, a massive dreadnought that carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets. He commanded over 500 ships, the largest fleet the Dominion had assembled in 1,000 years. We will crush these resurrected humans before they can spread their poison further, Kethvar declared to his commanders. They may have surprised us once, but now we know they exist. Now we can destroy them properly. Admiral Rodriguez watched the approaching enemy fleet on her tactical display and felt no fear. The Zephyrians still thought in terms of their ancient victory over a primitive Earth. They had no idea what humanity had become in the darkness between stars. All ships, prepare for battle, she ordered. Today we show the galaxy that the Zephyrian Dominion is not invincible. Today we prove that some things in this universe are too stubborn to die. The two fleets met at the edge of the Kepler Nebula, where space itself glowed with the light of newborn stars. It would be the largest space battle in galactic history, and its outcome would determine whether humanity would reclaim their rightful place among the stars or be destroyed once and for all. Dr. Maya Foster watched from the Retribution Science Lab as her Nemesis protocol was loaded into the ship's weapon systems. For 3,000 years, her family had worked toward this moment, designing weapons that could pierce any Zephyrian defense. For Earth, she whispered as the human fleet charged into battle. For all the children who never came home, the galaxy was about to witness the fury of a species that had refused to stay dead. The Battle of the Kepler Nebula began with the fury of two civilizations meeting in final combat. War Prime Kethvar's fleet of 500 ships faced Admiral Rodriguez's smaller force of 150 vessels, but numbers meant nothing when technology had advanced beyond recognition. Commander Lucy Evans piloted her starfighter Valkyrie through a storm of enemy fire, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to dance between laser beams that could vaporize her ship. She led Squadron 7, the elite pilots of Haven, who had trained their entire lives for this moment. All fighters, follow my lead, Lucy commanded as she dove toward a massive Zephyrian battlecruiser. Remember, their targeting systems cannot track our speed. Use that advantage. The human fighters moved like ghosts through the enemy formation, too fast for Zephyrian gunners to follow. Their quantum engines allowed impossible maneuvers, while their weapons fired energy that existed only in theory when Earth fell. Lucy's torpedo punched through the battlecruiser's shields and detonated its main reactor, turning a ship the size of a city into expanding gas. On the ground, Colonel Steve Baker led the assault on New Byzantium, the administrative capital that controlled 3 star systems. His enhanced Marines moved through the alien city like living weapons, their bodies adapted to Haven's harsh gravity, making them superhumanly strong and fast. "Remember what we fight for," Baker shouted to his troops as they advanced through streets, lined with monuments to Zephyrian conquest. Every building here was built with the wealth stolen from murdered worlds. Every stone is payment for crimes that demand justice. The Zephyrian defenders fought desperately, knowing that their empire's survival was at stake. Their crystal weapons fired streams of pure energy, while their power armor turned them into walking tanks. But 3,000 years of comfortable dominance had made them slow and predictable. Marine Captain Julie Brooks led her squad through the alien palace, fighting room by room against guards who had never faced human soldiers before. Her weapon fired projectiles that phased through Zephyrian armor, while her enhanced muscles allowed her to move in ways that defied physics. "They built this place to intimidate," Brooks observed as they fought through halls decorated with the preserved heads of conquered alien leaders. "They wanted everyone to know what happens to those who resist the Dominion. Then they will learn what happens to those who cross humanity," replied Sergeant Mike Davis, his rifle cutting down 3 alien guards with precision shots. In space, the main battle had become a dance of death between impossible technologies. Admiral Rodriguez watched from the Retribution's bridge as her ships used tactics that would have been pure fantasy to their ancestors. Her vessels phased in and out of normal space, striking the enemy fleet from angles that did not exist in 3-dimensional reality. "Their formations are breaking," reported Commander Park from her tactical station. "Kethvar is trying to reform his fleet around the Void Render, but our hit-and-run attacks are preventing coordinated defense." Rodriguez smiled grimly. The Zephyrians fought like they had for millennia, using massed formations and overwhelming firepower. But humanity had learned different lessons in their exile, developing strategies that used speed, stealth, and technological superiority instead of brute force. War Prime Kethvar stood on his flagship's bridge, watching his carefully planned battle dissolve into chaos. The human ships appeared and disappeared like phantoms, striking his fleet before vanishing back into hyperspace. His sensors could barely track them, while their weapons cut through his shields like they were made of paper. "How is this possible?" demanded Subcommander Yethtar as another of their dreadnoughts exploded in brilliant fire. "Their technology should not be this advanced. We destroyed their civilization when it was barely capable of interstellar travel." Kethvar watched a human destroyer materialize directly behind one of his cruisers, fire a single shot that split the massive ship in half, then disappear before return fire could reach it. "We taught them that the universe is cruel," he said quietly. "It seems they learned the lesson too well." Dr. Maya Foster monitored the battle from her laboratory aboard the Retribution, watching as her life's work was put to the ultimate test. The Nemesis protocol had been designed specifically to counter Zephyrian technology, based on 3,000 years of studying captured alien artifacts. "Activating quantum cascade weapon," Maya announced as she powered up her most devastating creation. "All ships clear firing lanes to the enemy flagship." The weapon that fired from the Retribution was not made of matter or energy, but of quantum possibility itself. It reached across space to touch the Void Render's shields, then began a cascade reaction that spread through every Zephyrian ship in the fleet. Kethvar watched in horror as his shields simply ceased to exist, followed by the shields of every ship under his command. In the space of seconds, his entire fleet was rendered defenseless against human weapons. "Impossible," he whispered as human ships closed in for the kill. "No weapon can affect quantum-locked shield matrices. Unless you understand the fundamental principles behind them," Maya said to herself, watching as the enemy fleet was systematically destroyed. "Something our species has had 3,000 years to figure out." The Battle of the Kepler Nebula ended with the complete destruction of the Zephyrian fleet. Kethavar's flagship was the last to die, torn apart by concentrated fire from a dozen human ships. The War Prime himself was killed when the bridge exploded around him, his last thoughts filled with the impossible reality of human survival. News of the victory spread across the galaxy at light speed, carried by communication networks that had buzzed with Zephyrian commands for millennia. On 1,000 enslaved worlds, oppressed species looked up at their alien masters, and saw fear in their eyes for the first time. The Altarian rebels struck first, led by Corvash and his guerrilla fighters. They emerged from their hidden bunkers to attack Zephyrian garrison forces, using weapons provided by human agents who had infiltrated their world. Within hours, the capital city was in rebel hands. On Vega Prime, the displaced vegan refugees rose against their alien oppressors, supported by human marines who had landed under cover of darkness. The planet that had been stripped of its resources to feed the Dominion's war machine became the center of a liberation movement that spread to neighboring systems. Admiral Rodriguez received reports of uprisings across Zephyrian space as her fleet moved toward their final objective. Every victory inspired more resistance. Every successful rebellion proved that the Dominion could be beaten. "Set course for Earth," she commanded from the Retribution's bridge. "It is time to go home." Colonel Baker's forces completed their conquest of New Byzantium by capturing the planetary governor alive. General Zefkul had ruled 3 star systems with absolute authority, crushing any sign of rebellion with merciless efficiency. Now he knelt before human soldiers whose very existence proved his empire's greatest failure. "You cannot be real," the alien governor whispered, his translated words filled with disbelief. "The humans are extinct. We made sure of it." Baker removed his helmet, revealing a face that bore the genetic marks of 3,000 years of evolution. His eyes held depths of controlled fury that made the alien flinch. "We are very real," Baker said quietly. "And we remember everything you did to our world." The governor was taken aboard the Phoenix as a prisoner, along with data cores containing information about Zephyrian military positions throughout the galaxy. But more importantly, they contained records of human colonies that had been destroyed, evidence of atrocities that would fuel humanity's righteous anger for generations to come. Dr. Hannah Price studied the recovered data with growing horror and determination. The files contained detailed records of how the Zephyrians had methodically erased all traces of human civilization, using survivors for medical experiments and genetic research. "They did not just want to kill us," she reported to Admiral Rodriguez. "They wanted to understand us, to learn what made humanity different from other species they had conquered. These files show they were afraid of something about us, even when we were primitives." Rodriguez nodded grimly. "They were right to be afraid. We are the species that refuses to die quietly." The human fleet regrouped at the edge of the Sol system, preparing for the final assault on humanity's lost homeworld. Behind them stretched a trail of liberated systems and burning Zephyrian outposts. Ahead lay Earth, poisoned and dead but still calling to her children across the void. General Alex Kane transmitted from Haven, where new fleets were being prepared to support the liberation of Earth. "Admiral, the entire galaxy is watching. What you do in the next few hours will determine whether the Zephyrian Dominion survives or falls forever." Rodriguez looked at the tactical display showing Earth's system, now heavily fortified by 3,000 years of alien occupation. The enemy had built massive battle stations around humanity's homeworld, turning it into the most defended system in their empire. "Then let us give the galaxy something to remember," she replied. "All ships prepare for final assault. Today we take back what was stolen from us. Today we prove that some things in this universe are sacred." The Earth Reclamation fleet powered up their weapons and shields. Admiral Kate Rodriguez felt her heart break as the human fleet entered the Sol system and saw what had become of their ancient home. Earth hung in space like a diseased jewel, its once blue oceans turned the color of rust, its white clouds replaced by swirling masses of toxic gas. The planet that had given birth to humanity was dying. "Scanning the surface," reported Commander Park, her voice tight with emotion. "The atmosphere is 90% poison. The oceans are acidic. There are no life signs anywhere on the planet. But worse than Earth's condition were the structures the Zephyrians had built around it. Massive battle stations orbited the dead world like metal vultures, each one capable of destroying entire fleets. Mining platforms stripped away pieces of the moon to feed alien factories. Earth had become the symbolic heart of the Zephyrian Dominion, a monument to their power over life and death. "Detecting over 300 enemy ships," continued Park, "plus the orbital fortresses. This is the most heavily defended system in Zephyrian space. Rodriguez studied the tactical display, noting the positioning of enemy forces. Supreme Overlord Zepthar commanded the defense from his flagship Doomheart, a vessel so large it could be seen from Earth's surface. The alien ruler had chosen to make his final stand here among the bones of humanity's birth world. "All ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez," she broadcast to her fleet. 3,000 years ago, our ancestors fled this system with broken hearts and desperate hopes. Today we return as their children's children, carrying the fire they lit in the darkness. Every one of you was born for this moment. Do not fail them. The attack began with a fury that shook the very fabric of space. Human ships materialized throughout the Sol system, striking at enemy positions with weapons that had been designed specifically for this battle. The orbital defense platforms, built to withstand any conceivable assault, crumbled under the impact of quantum torpedoes that existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously. Commander Lucy Evans led her fighter squadrons against the Zephyrian fleet in the space between Earth and Mars. Her pilots moved through enemy formations like avenging angels, their ships dancing between laser beams while returning fire with impossible precision. "For every human child who never saw Earth," Lucy whispered, as her torpedo destroyed a Zephyrian cruiser. "For every family that died in exile dreaming of home." The space battle raged for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. 3,000 years of preparation had given humanity advantages that the Zephyrians could not counter. Their shields failed, their weapons missed, and their ships exploded under the assault of technologies that seemed like magic. General Alex Kane led the ground assault personally, his transport ship diving through Earth's poisoned atmosphere toward the massive fortress complex built over the ruins of former Geneva. The structure was a nightmare of alien architecture, its twisted spires reaching into the toxic sky like claws. "Marines, remember where you are," Kane announced as the drop pods launched toward Earth's surface. "This is our homeworld. Every grain of soil beneath our feet belongs to us by right of birth. We take it back today." Colonel Steve Baker's squad was among the first to touch Earth's surface in 3,000 years. The ground beneath their feet was dead rock, poisoned by alien chemicals until nothing could grow. But it was still Earth, still the world where humanity had taken its first steps toward the stars. "Sensors show massive underground complexes," reported Lieutenant Frank Gray as they advanced toward the fortress. "Looks like they built their main command center right on top of where the old United Nations building used to stand." Baker felt rage burn in his chest at the deliberate insult. The Zephyrians had not simply conquered Earth, they had desecrated it, built their empire's capital on the grave of human civilization. The assault on the fortress became a running battle through corridors that mocked human achievement. The aliens had preserved artifacts from Earth's history, displaying them like trophies in museums dedicated to their own superiority. Ancient human art hung next to placards describing the primitive species that had created them. Dr. Elena Ross followed behind the assault teams with her Genesis Project equipment, preparing to begin the work of planetary restoration. She was Dr. Carter's descendant through dozens of generations, inheriting both her ancestors' scientific genius and her determination to see Earth live again. "The atmospheric processors are in place," Elena reported as her teams deployed quantum, terraforming devices across the planet's surface. "We can begin reversing the ecological damage as soon as the area is secure." The battle for the fortress complex lasted 8 hours of brutal fighting. The Zephyrian defenders knew they were facing extinction and fought with desperate fury. But human Marines moved through their positions like unstoppable forces of nature. Every room cleared brought them closer to the heart of the enemy's power. Supreme Overlord Zepthar waited in his throne room at the fortress's deepest level, surrounded by displays showing the collapse of his empire. Rebellion had spread to every corner of Zephyrian space as enslaved species rose against their masters. The dominion that had ruled the galaxy for millennia was crumbling in the space of days, so the dead returned to claim their bones. The alien ruler mused as human soldiers fought their way through his final defenses. "I should have ordered every trace of your species erased from the galaxy." Colonel Baker was the first human to enter the throne room, his weapon trained on the creature who had ruled from humanity's desecrated homeworld for over 1,000 years. The alien was ancient beyond measure, his crystalline body bearing the scars of countless battles. "You built your throne on our children's graves," Baker said quietly, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to dodge as the alien ruler drew an energy blade and attacked with surprising speed. The final duel between human and alien took place in the shadow of stolen human artifacts, while above them the space battle reached its climax. Baker's enhanced physique and advanced armor gave him advantages, but Zefthar fought with the skill of millennia and the desperation of defeat. The alien ruler struck with movements that blurred the air, his crystal blade carving through metal and stone. But Baker had trained his entire life for this moment, and his enhanced reflexes allowed him to match the creature's inhuman speed. Their battle raged across the throne room, destroying priceless artifacts and ancient displays. In space, Admiral Rodriguez watched as the last Zephyrian battle station exploded in brilliant fire. The Doomheart, flagship of their empire, drifted dead in space with its hull cracked open like an egg. The orbital defense network that had protected Earth for 3,000 years was nothing but expanding debris. "All enemy forces have been eliminated," reported Commander Park. "Earth orbit is clear of hostile vessels." Rodriguez felt tears run down her face as she looked at the poisoned world below. It would take years of work to restore Earth's ecosystem, but for the first time, in 3 millennia, her children would have the chance to walk on their ancestral soil. Dr. Ross began the Genesis Protocol as human ships took up defensive positions around Earth. Quantum terraforming devices activated across the planet's surface, beginning the slow process of reversing 3,000 years of ecological damage. The poisoned atmosphere began to clear, the acidic oceans started to neutralize, and dead soil slowly came back to life. In the fortress depths, Colonel Baker's duel with Zefthar reached its conclusion. The alien ruler's ancient body finally succumbed to wounds that would have killed any human instantly, his crystal blood pooling on the floor of his stolen throne room. "Your empire dies with you," Baker said as the alien's eyes grew dim. "But our world will live again." The news of Earth's liberation spread across the galaxy at light speed, carried by the same communication networks that had once transmitted Zephyrian orders. On 1,000 worlds, enslaved species rose in successful rebellion as word spread that the Dominion's heart had been torn out. Months later, Admiral Rodriguez stood in the restored ruins of Central Park, watching human children play on grass that had been dead for 3 millennia. The Genesis Project had worked beyond their wildest hopes, bringing Earth back to life with quantum technology that seemed like magic. The sky above was blue again, cleared of alien poison by atmospheric processors that worked around the clock. The oceans ran clean, their waters teeming with life restored from genetic templates preserved since the Exodus. Earth was alive, breathing, ready to welcome her children home. "Admiral Rodriguez to all human settlements," she broadcast to the thousands of colony ships arriving daily from Haven and other hidden refugees. "Welcome home. Welcome to Earth." General Kane arrived on the first transport from Haven, his boots touching Earth soil for the first time in his long life. Around him, millions of humans began the process of rebuilding their civilization on the world where it had begun. The Zephyrian Dominion fell completely within a year, its former subjects establishing free governments across the galaxy. The enslaved species that had suffered under alien rule for millennia found themselves liberated by the very people their masters had believed extinct. Dr. Ross completed her work by planting the first new tree in the restored Amazon rainforest, its roots drawing life from soil that had been sterile rock just months before. Earth was truly alive again. Rhea,